the world of fairy tales. Read along with me some famous stories that will be fun and fancy-free. Even learn a lesson or two. Welcome to Reading with Raya Roses. We're going to read an old story that is about a time long ago. The story is about a shoemaker, a man who makes shoes. A long time ago, shoemakers made shoes by hand. The story is called The Shoemaker and the Elves. There are some secret magical characters in the story. Can you guess who those characters might be? Main characters: Shoemaker and his wife and the elves. Once there was a poor shoemaker and his wife. We only have enough leather left to make one pair of shoes, said the worried shoemaker to his wife. That night the shoemaker left the leather on his workbench and went to bed. He decided he would make his last pair of shoes in the morning. When the shoemaker woke up, he was shocked to find a beautiful pairs of shoes on his workbench. He puzzled and puzzled over who could have made such beautiful shoes. Later that day, a customer came into the workshop and admired the shoes. They fit his feet so perfectly that he paid double the money for them. We now have enough money to buy dinner and to buy leather for 2 more pairs of shoes, the shoemaker said happily. That evening he cut the leather for 2 pairs of shoes and left it on his workbench. Amazingly, the next morning there were 4 pairs of new fancy shoes. The shoemaker and his wife sold all of 4 and made more money. I must discover who is making these shoes, said the shoemaker to his wife, so they decided to stay awake and watch the workbench all night. That evening, 2 tiny elves in tattered clothes tiptoed into the workshop. They began to sew the leather into beautiful shoes. Those poor elves must be freezing in their ragged clothes, said the wife to the shoemaker. So they decided to sew new clothes and shoes for the poor little elves. That evening, they left the gifts on the workbench for the elves to find. When the elves returned, they discovered the beautiful clothes and shoes. They were so happy with their new clothes that they danced out of the workshop and were never to be seen again. From that day forward, the shoemaker and his wife lived a happy life with plenty to eat. The end. Where did the shoemaker make these shoes? They were made from the leather. The shoemaker and his wife were surprised to find finished shoes on the workbench. Who made these shoes? They're made from the elves. What did the shoemaker did with the finished shoes he found on his workbench each morning? They sold all of them to the fancy people. The shoemaker and his wife watched the elves go out into the cold, dark night. Why were they worried about the elves? Because their clothes are very filthy and dirty and they're very cold at the nighttime. How did the shoemaker and his wife help the elves? They helped them made by new beautiful little clothes for them. In what order did the story happen? The first is the shoemaker and his wife found 2 pairs of shoes been made from the elves. The second is the wife and the shoemaker found out the elves made the shoes. The third part, is the elves were very happy to have new clothes. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy. Have a happy day. Bye-bye.